Every B2B podcast sounds the same. Cookie cutter strategies, corporate buzzwords, high level theory that sounds smart but changes nothing. Meanwhile, the real game changers are out there breaking every rule in the playbook and crushing it. They're not following best practices. They're building their own path and winning in the ways that experts said wouldn't work. These are the rebels you need to hear from, the ones with tactics you can actually use tomorrow. This is Burn the Playbook. Burn everything that's holding you back. Welcome in. I'm Mark Crosby, and this is Burn the Playbook. Today, my guest is Scott Marker, author and business growth strategist and networking leader. Scott has spent over 2 decades helping businesses from startups to Fortune 50 giants fix broken B2B systems, drive profitable growth, and actually win. He is the author of 2 sales and marketing books, and including bestseller Broken, How to Fix B2B Sales and Drive Profitable Growth and Win. He is also the founder of MCA², where he consults on go-to-market strategy and B2B sales success. He leads the Network in Action Treasure Valley, a networking franchise that helps business owners build real revenue-generating partnerships. Scott brings a fresh and welcome view of what's wrong with sales today and what leaders need to do differently. Welcome, Scott.
Hey, thanks, Mark, for having me on.
Awesome. Glad to have you. I love your book. I had a chance to read that before this particular recording. And I think that everything that you have said in this particular book is things that I've been ranting about for many, many years, just as far as what's broken with sales, with marketing, with alignment. So I'm just curious, you have a lot of experience in all these topics. So when did you realize that sales and B2B was in effect broken?
Well, there was several looking back, but that's hindsight. But probably one of the ones that stuck out to me was I worked for a company for a short time, not on my LinkedIn, and I found out after I got there that basically we were all fiercely competing against each other. So you wouldn't share anything because they'll go out and tag one of your prospects anyway. Mm-hmm. So we like run to the copy machine. If we were going to print off some stuff to take out to like do a prospecting thing, we would. So I mean, is that crazy that you're scared to talk about? In fact, I did once, and another rep said, Don't tell any of your strategies to anybody else because they'll just steal them and go. And so, yeah, that was it. And of course, what do they think? Oh, well, more the merrier because everybody's, competing against each other. But I use a lot of sports analogies. That's like, everybody on a football team not wanting the other piece, offense to win or defense to win. That's just crazy.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that, even today, even in my business and maybe yours, I love to learn from others that are doing the same thing that I'm doing. There's enough business, I think, to go around. And I think that it just helps to share those stories and strategies as far as what you've learned over the years. I don't know. I'm pretty big on tribal knowledge myself, whether it's internal or external. But I even think internally, there's probably a lack of just people wanting to share best practices. We're just typically bogged down with the day-to-day, and I think that for today with AI and a lot of the sales strategies that are out there, I think it comes down to differentiating yourself probably with storytelling. And I think that there's probably a lack thereof as far as just being more human, telling better stories. And I think that that's something that you've talked about too. But what do people get wrong about telling stories or not telling them at all as far as connecting, their solutions to the buyer journey?
I said in my first book, stories sell, but better yet, success. And I've been talking about that since 2009, my first book. And it's because I found that by telling success stories, one, you keep focusing on what? The customer. So by telling success stories of other like customers, you talk about outcomes you've done for them, and it gets you from talking about your company's history too much or a bunch of other stuff that has nothing to do, that they don't care about. They care about what have you done before, so you have proof points of other customers like them that they've done. And so I've always done that, is because when you get into talking to somebody like your prospective customer, when you get in there and start talking to them, they want to know, their time is limited and stuff. They just want to know, can you help them out? And you can say, hey, from what you told me, we have 3 other customers right now we're working with that. Here's how the first one we succeeded, and then telling them specifics and then outcomes. So outcomes that equal money is always the best. You can't always do it. So they told us that our new solution saved them 40 hours a week. And they said that equated by the end of each month to about $25,000 with our engineering time. Mm-hmm. And so is that, are those some of the things you're having challenges with? Oh yeah, it's exact. And so anyway, then you can get them fleshing out, because too many salespeople are trying people, and how you probe is with stories, success stories. So
Yeah, where does the company story fit into, I guess, a presentation? I feel like I was just at a conference not too long ago, and I listened to like, dozens of different presentations from different companies, and every single one of them started the exact same. We've been around since 1902, and we started out in some old factory, and they just went through this long timeline of where they came from and where they are today. And 5 minutes later, you can just look around the room and everyone's asleep. So at what point do you ever talk about your company story or your company history? I don't know. Is it even relevant to any buyers today?
if you have a cool story, maybe, but if you don't, it's something that really resonates and stuff. I would lead with stories first, and then if you want to do some credibility, saying, hey, we've been around for 20 years here, in this area, helping people like you. So that's good, but limit it. Too many companies spend way too much time on their whole company culture and all this stuff, and it's like, you know, buyers want to know, it's what's in it for me. So
Yeah, exactly. I've never had anybody, I think, in any presentation raise their hand and say, "How long has your company been
yeah,
around?" You know why? Because it doesn't matter.
yeah.
The story that I like to tell, though, is the one that's typically in a CRM. And, with a lot of businesses, B2B businesses, there's handoffs from account managers, different sales managers, and people putting different information in. And if I'm picking up an account or trying to figure out ways to enhance my solutions to a customer problem, it's typically going in and developing a narrative around what was already in the CRM. Where do we come from in the last 5 years? What does sales look like? What are some of the pain points that people put in there along the way? And then formulating a story around that. So, but then again, a lot of CRMs have bad data. So where do you see at least CRM failing companies today as far as how it's used and how they can shape a story?
CRMs, I have ranted and raved years ago. I mean, for years on them, because and then okay, first off, the people, who are the ones that buy them don't have to use them like the salespeople. That's the first big problem right there. So they've never been user friendly. They're a pain in the butt most of the time to get all the information you be put in there. So right off the bat, how do you fix that? You have leadership that has a clue and has to be forced to, if it isn't in the CRM, it didn't happen, to do the same thing. And they'll find out really quick. They need to help come up with, and there's a lot of new tools that automate stuff and suck it right into your CRM. You need to help them do that. And so that's the thing. And then make it part of the training and part of a culture of how important CRM information is. That's intelligence in there. And it's so important. It can help you obtain more customers, expand more business and stuff. And so, but a lot of times, again, the people that are the managers aren't forced to use it like they have to use it, and they've never had to use it correctly. So they don't have to teach it. All it is a big brother or big sister thing that watching it. So I think that's the big problem. Is one, they need to make it a priority in the company. How can we automate everything? I mean, now on a lot of these like Zoom type calls and stuff, they give you a complete overview when you're done. So you can take those notes and dump them in, or they can automatically be taken in. So that's the first step, is acknowledging that CRMs, a lot of them, are a lot of work. And then here's another thing no one talks about, I haven't heard about, is most people don't understand the difference in CRMs between using one sitting behind a keypad with a headset on. It's way different than if you're out in the field and
Hmm.
you stop by, cold call, you're in a networking type meeting, you meet 3 different people. Now, how do you capture those conversations and stuff and get it takes time, and then you got to, anyway. So those kind of some of the things, but okay, so that they're the ways to fix the problems and stuff. Now, from there, people need to know how powerful. I mean, I say it's a necessary evil. I'm for years, the companies I've worked at, I've been the only, I'm talking out of hundreds of reps. I worked for an international company, and this one manager wanted us to fill out this stupid form. And I'm like, why would I do that? I mean, what we've been, what we've done. I just printed off right out of my CRM, everybody I saw, the contacts, and I dropped that on this regional manager's desk, and he goes, "This is awesome. Where'd you get it?" because I'm the only one using the CRM. You know what I mean? No one else is using it. And so it
Right.
takes a lot of time. But then, okay, now how do you leverage it? Is, and this is a huge, my goal is always give huge takeaways. So here's a good example. And I've taught this for years, done it myself for years. I was a salesperson for years and years in leadership. So I know, and was like number one out of two companies out of hundreds of reps and stuff. And so, and what I was doing, no one asked me what I was doing. And so now I'm trying to share like what I've seen in other people. So here's a good example. CRM. Hey, Mark, hey, thanks for calling me. You're calling into me. I'm not putting you off. I really am interested in what you have to talk about. But hey, I'm heading out to Hawaii for a week. And and then what I say? I go, hey, that's great. Hey, going there for fun. Oh, my daughter's getting married. Oh, hey, congratulations. That's great. Hey, so when would be a good time to call you back? And if they go, well, I'll call you back. You'll be sunburned. Always keep the ball in your court. I'll call you back. When should I call you back? Okay,
Hmm.
perfect. Hey, congratulations again on your daughter's wedding. Now, in the CRM, in bold, and now with automation, this could probably be automated. Next to say, call Mark back. He said so. As soon as I see that, you could be juggling 30 opportunities or more. So now I
Hmm.
have to check. I note in there, if it's automatic, it should already be in there, but I note in there, hey, Mark's went to Hawaii for his daughter's wedding. Ask him how it was and tell him he told you to call him back. That is so important because you get back, you've been gone for a week, you're going to be buried under.
Hmm.
I might not be a priority anymore. So I have to, when I call you up, I say, hey, Mark, Scott Marker from ABC Company. Hey, before we go any further, how was Hawaii? They might not even
Hmm.
remember you. So then you go, oh, and by the way, you told me to call you back because you said you're in. Anyway, that right there times 10, you know, is how you can leverage you. And I'll talk some other ones. But there's one example where I've never heard anybody teach things like that. Because if you just call someone back, a lot of times the priority is an issue anymore if you don't use a script like that.
Hmm. Yeah, and like you were saying that there's really no excuse. I think today with all the applications, with all the tools, with artificial intelligence, with recording things,
Yep.
everything's on your phone. There's no reason why you shouldn't be able to put anything into the CRM. I know there, maybe 10 years ago, you had to get back to your desk because maybe Salesforce wasn't on your phone and you couldn't, you still had to do it manually. But today you can just voice transcribe it and just cut and paste it and put it into
Yeah.
CRM. You can record your calls and have the transcripts there, cut and paste that, or have it automated go into a HubSpot or a Salesforce. It's easier now, I think, to get the information there, but you just have to take a little bit of effort to do that, or just think of easy ways to make your life easier as far as putting the information in there.
Yep.
And I think that the CRM, the more information that's in there, you're going to get better insights. You're going to get better analytics just from the qualitative information. I mean, I would say that it's a given as far as sales history and some of the quantifiable, year over year sales. I mean, that should be a given. But all the little nuances as far as you made a cold call and they weren't there, or the Hawaii trip and things like that, that should all be in there. I mean, and it shouldn't be looked at as just big brother is watching. And you should think about it like, if the more information I put in there will help me maybe retain customers. So, especially as you're telling stories to whether it is your sales leaders internally, as far as where did we come from? How did we get here? What's the history of the account? Because I know that typically for account reviews, you have to kind of dredge up the past. And the easy way to do that today is just go into the CRM and just do a quick summarize of everything that's been in there for the last couple of years. So I think it can help you retain customers and try to tell a better story as you're trying to renew accounts, especially with your customers, because maybe they forget, and maybe your procurement person was replaced by somebody else, and you can
Yep.
tell them the history of, hey, I know that Joe was in your seat before 3 years ago. This is how we got here today. So as far as like retention, I think that that's another miss that a lot of sales teams don't think about. Then I also think that there's just complacency and the quick wins for leaders to focus on the new shiny customers and not think about the retention strategy. So I think you've weaved a little bit of that into your books and your writing. So tell me a little bit about how do we retain customers?
First of all, which I'll talk about in here too, but I have something in my book called the Strategic Customer Cycle, which in my first book was called the
Hmm.
Strategic Selling Cycle. And I thought I've tried to strip out a lot of the. When I speak, I do a lot of speaking. When I speak, I always say I'm a recovering salesperson. right? So my language has to be customer centric. So I don't close a new customer, right? I convert them to, we're fortunate to convert them to be a new customer so we can serve them. I'm not selling them, I'm solving problems. I mean, it's a whole vocabulary. But on retention, uh, I have 7 stages, which is they're all verbs. You never stop doing them. You're always retaining, qualifying, prospecting, converting, fulfilling, and supporting. And so there's my strategic customer cycle. And the first stage, even somebody asked me this after they wrote the book. I read the book, but they missed it in the book. Is they said, why is retention first? I said, because owners like you forget about your existing customers. So I'll give you a quick story. So back when I first wrote my first book, I was talking to probably a room full of 30 business owners. And I had like 45 minutes to talk about, and I was talking about retention. And so the first thing I said was, how many people here have some profitable customers? Everybody raises their hands. How many people here have a strategic plan in place who are going to keep your best customers? Not one hand went up. I said, hey, by the way, this is a side gig I do. So if you could please tell me after this talk what industry you're in, I can convince you, I'm going to put a strategic plan in place to steal your best customers. And went right in my presentation. There was a line of people afterwards. and so you have to, when I was writing my second book, I worked for this company, and I did, okay, who's our A, B, C, D accounts, right? What percentage of businesses? And I didn't know, we were way top heavy. And I said, okay, what specifically are we going to do? How often are we going to take these huge customers out to lunch? What other type things are we going to do for them? Drop by once a month, drop off candy, whatever that retention strategy looks like, you got to have something in place, because guess what? Me, as your competitor, I'm out trying to steal your best customers. And I'm hoping you become complacent, because I'm going to drop by and say, hey, here's another success story. Hey, I have a couple testimonials from you, and we just got another one this last month. I'd love to help you out. And again, they're thinking, that other company, they haven't talked to me in a year. Anyway, it makes it easier to poach other customers. So and again, the retention, a lot of times I think, unfortunately, is kind of, especially if salespeople are commissioned off of them, but sometimes they care about, they care about those customers too. You work so hard to get them in. And then the leadership, the owners, whatever, get so fixated on new logos that that red carpet dissolves. And so anyway, it's a leadership problem, and it needs to be taught that says, hey, and again, a lot of this stuff, like you said in the book, we first started, hey, a lot of this stuff I've been talking about for years. A lot of this stuff isn't rocket science. So the amount of time, money to keep existing customer is minute to how much it costs to get a new one like them. So why wouldn't you spend a little bit of time to keep them? Why I always recommend putting a strategic plan in place on your top customers. What specifically, who in the company, what are they going to do? Anyway, and that part of that could be a newsletter going out, once a week too. Anyway, so retention's huge.
Yeah, and that's something we talk about in sales meetings. It's always about, moving your buyer through the funnel, or, as far as, what the progression is that they are, in the buying cycle, and it goes from 0 to 100%, you close it, but it should look more like the diagram you were just holding up for those that are watching on YouTube, but it should be more of a circle. It should be a cycle to where we win the business, and then we go through another cycle of retaining the business. But typically it's just a straight line, and we win the business, and we move on to trying to acquire the next business. So I just think it's an oversight. And I think part of that's just related to probably comp plans, and that's the way that a lot of sellers are incentivized. Yep. It's getting new business. It's the new shiny logos, as you said. It's not about retaining the customers. And some, people out there are saying, well, we have a comp plan that, has retention as part of the compensation plan, but I don't think that many do. So how should a compensation plan integrate retention, or generally speaking, how should a comp plan be developed?
For sales, in the book, I was really bold. I'm just saying you should. There's a Gartner study out and other studies out showing that the majority of buyers don't even want to talk to a salesperson anymore. And the younger they are, it goes up to, like, there's one of Gartner's, like 800 millennials. It was up to 72% didn't want to talk to any salesperson. So the comp plan should be for you should have industry experts in your company. It should be a culture that when you attract people here, say that crazy high turnover stuff that you've worked at other companies and stuff like that, that's not us. We're going to be customer centric. Your compensation is based on their success. And not only have it based on their success, brag about it on social media. So for example, this happens all the time. And here's the problem that took me 2 years to figure out, to narrow it down. The problem with traditional sales is the KPIs, compensation, and goals have nothing to do with the customer success. They have everything to do with putting money in your pocket, winning a Tesla, or keeping your job. And that's why the Wells Fargo story I put in the book, because Wells Fargo thought that was such a travesty, and it wasn't. From the top down, they said everybody's going to be a salesperson in the banks, and they put sales KPIs on them, stretch goals on them, and pressure, and threatened to fire them. And what happened? At the time of my book, 3.5 million fraudulent accounts were set up because the best people can be corrupted. So get away from the traditional KPIs and make compensation and goals about the customer success. So for example, at the end of a quarter, a lot of times because of the traditional way, salespeople bring in the wrong type of customers, and companies don't know how expensive it is bringing the right type of customers. So you compensate them on, maybe you have an onboarding team. They can rate how knowledgeable was this customer. Did marketing do a good job? If you had marketing, did the salesperson, or industry expert, I'd rather say, have no salespeople, but industry expert, so that versus a lot of companies are like, hey, this new customer doesn't know what the heck we do. Why? Because the salesperson just promised, even the marketing even overpromised. So you incentivize on only the right type of customers, and then you incentivize long-term, like for expansion, different types of things like that. But you got to be careful the way you do it. You're paying these people a full salary. None of this on-target earning that, you have to work your way up to it every time. Because if you have a culture that we're here to support customers and stuff like that, and your job is to, help out and do all that stuff. And some of this could be, which we'll get into probably later on, but some of this could be warm calling, right? So marketing, which we'll talk about, I think when we talked about it before, but marketing in a perfect world, and I've seen it done with Refine Labs and Chris Walker. Right? Well, so he did all the marketing, and they did no outbound. But I found out during my book, because I know Chris, that he was a freak in nature, and most companies can't kind of do what he did. But the marketing needs to be held accountable like salespeople do, right? And so they need to make sure there's some, and then it's a big team effort. But the salesperson, some of their KPIs could be, hey, you might have to do some warm calling through, like LinkedIn, for example, or something like that, and have some KPIs and how much you do and stuff. But the whole focus should be on you being an expert and only talking to the right type of customers. And I tell you, it's going to, and then what's that do also help is, which companies don't talk about at all, is the average salesperson for the last 2 decades, and this is an honor system, so it could be worse, it's 18 to 14 months. So every year and a half, a salesperson is churning. Just imagine if your company's average was double that. You could brag on social media and say, hey, you want to talk to a bunch of newbies? Talk to our competitors. We don't have salespeople. We have industry experts, and the average, we have double or triple the average experience of helping people like you. And anyway, so it's a huge opportunity to get rid of all the old sales compensation, which buyers don't like, and they know that it's up. Anyway, so I think that's the way.
That makes a lot of sense. And with that said, I mean, do you think that should sales and marketing have the same KPIs and the same goals? Should it be a shared comp plan? If we're driving towards customer success and customer centricity, should those KPIs be aligned for sales and marketing, or should they be separate?
Yeah, I think, first of all, they need to be visible, okay? Because I use a lot of analogies. It'd be like a football team. Offense is out on the field, and defense is in the locker room. They don't get to watch what's going on. Guess what? Once offense is done, they touchdown or don't get it, they go in the locker room, and the defense comes out. That's just crazy. They watch what the other one's doing. But the way a lot of the traditional ways, companies, sales doesn't know what the heck marketing's doing, and marketing doesn't know what the heck salespeople are doing. So I think I just think there needs to be a visual view of what everybody's goals are, and you're working them
Mm-hmm.
together. And part of that could be, for example, I'm really into account-based marketing and
Mm-hmm.
or ABX, which includes customer service or other people too, because and Ingram has said that made famous ABM and flipped the concept. Um, he said it, which was perfect, is that he said, "Oh, and when it comes to ABM, salespeople have always been account based. So we didn't spray and pray anyway. So yes, I think marketing, some of the stuff they do is a little more at the top of the funnel. So they're gonna have to do a little bit different stuff than we do, but they have to be held
Mm-hmm.
accountable that they're not just the arts and craft department and they bring in a bunch of crappy leads that what they bring in and and this is in my book too, marketing
Mm-hmm.
and sales and even customer service all need to get together and go, what does a good customer look like? And agree on it. Because traditionally, marketing has been let to just throw a bunch of crap over, have salespeople have to, deal with all this crap and then not be held
Mm-hmm.
accountable. So anyway, everybody needs to be in the same team. And I think, so the KPIs, they just all need to be all visual. So marketing's not going to be doing exactly the same thing, but at times marketing's going to be working with salespeople on campaigns to help them out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there probably needs to be more collaborative efforts and to include customer experience and customer service teams, just so everyone's on the same page. I don't think that happens enough. Typically, obviously, a lot of people talk about sales and marketing needs to be aligned, and we just complain about it and don't have any solutions for it. You're talking about at least agreeing on what the ICP looks like. And so, when that's defined and the salespeople have to go out there and capture new business, as you were mentioning before, buyers don't want to talk to salespeople. So, but I also hear this revival on podcast and even LinkedIn is that cold calling is now a new thing because no one's doing it anymore, and there's still an opportunity there. But do you think that there is an opportunity to capture new prospects, new clients with cold calling? Is that still effective? Is that something that we should be doing or should not be doing?
I do it sometimes and I'm successful. I, the reason I rant and rave about cold calling over the years, saying that here it is that it's because if you have a new startup, you're going to be doing, even the founder led movement stuff. They're going to be doing a ton of outbound. But as your company
Mm-hmm.
matures, the second year, third year, fourth year, you need to have marketing needs to be kicking in. You need to have referral partners. You need to have maybe you go to some events or hold events to make more inbound. But what I found out research from my book, the dirty little secret is I'm talking companies that say they're inbound companies. So they teach other companies to do inbound. One after one, behind closed doors, all told me, "Oh, we do a ton of outbound." They said that inbound's nice, it takes too long,
Mm-hmm.
and if you're trying to scale it, so I think, yeah, I just think it's just that it's like anything, it's the nuances of the way you do it, and so if it like me, I get tons of, you want to connect with somebody on LinkedIn, and there's a lot of these automated tools and they can work, which are not allowed, but everybody
Mm-hmm.
uses them. But so somebody comes and checks out my profile, likes something I have, and then asks me to connect. And I glance at them and go, oh, are they going to pitch me? And
Yeah.
then when I connect,
Yep.
there's 3 or 4 paragraphs of a pitch. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
that's what's wrong. Versus being more strategic, doing the same thing, and just saying, hey, Mark, I see that you live here in the city with me.
Mm-hmm.
I about a lot of small business owners like you, and I'd love to have a Zoom call sometime. That's it. Not
Mm-hmm.
hound them and stuff, but if it's again that's owner to owner, so it's a lot easier. But it's the so yes, but you got to warm it up a little bit. But yeah, so I think still I do it, and I taught people. I mean, I have a plumber, and he went out on his own, and he's going to go cold call some property management companies. And I coached him exactly what to say. I said, you're not a salesperson, you're the owner, and plumbers are short supply. So
Mm-hmm.
and so you're gonna go out, knock on doors, say, hey, I'm the owner of this company. It's a whole different way of approaching it. And by the way, this is how many years of backgrounds I have in commercial and residential like this, and I'd love to be a backup. If you're whoever you're using, just assume they're using
Mm-hmm.
somebody. If they and use a backup, he did 7 and got 1. So there is straight cold calling that works, but it's the way you do
Yeah.
it. Anyway, so it's just the the way a lot of the AI stuff is just kind of millions and millions of things and burying people under that's not good. But yeah, it can work. I mean, I do it and I've taught people how to do it.
Yeah. You just have to make it personal. I mean, I think that you said it is that you do it. You don't have AI do it. You know, you
Yeah.
don't have AI write the message. You don't have AI make the phone call or send the email. You do it. Put a little bit of effort into it. I think there's just so many lazy tools that are out there. Just I think that we were talking about with Graham Hawkins on the first one, where he was saying Brent Adamson was saying, you know, it just allows more people to do more of the things that add less value.
Yeah.
And it's frustrating because, as you were saying, you get these sequences like on LinkedIn, and it's you know, they like your post and then they send you a request, and then you know it's coming, you know the pitch is coming. And even if they made that human, you kind of know the sequence and you know it's automated, so it takes a little bit of the authenticity away from it. And you know, I don't know, at least for me, I'm a little bit less warm and fuzzy about wanting to do business with that particular person, even if they have a good solution. I don't know, maybe that's just me because I'm a little bit biased as far as just the AI tools, but there's a way to do it, at least. And I think part of that maybe is just maybe capturing information. You can capture information with AI and then have a human deliver that message. But I think if you're using AI to develop the message, that's where it gets a little bit lost. But I don't know. But that's just a little bit of just venting from my perspective for LinkedIn DMs and then cold outreach. But I think, yeah, cold calls can work. But the problem is that I'm not answering my phone.
Oh no.
And I don't know how
I
many
mean,
people are.
I just switched carriers, and my new phone does a better job than ever saying most likely a scam, and so I don't pick it up at all. Yeah.
Yeah, at least for mine, I would have to have like it saved as a contact, or it's not going to ring at all.
Oh wow.
So I don't know. I got too many barriers to entry, at least to do business with Mark Crosby. As far as the customer journey, what does that look like from your perspective to, you know, how many touch points somebody should have for a prospect to a close, and how many people should be involved? I know that, you know, a lot of the statistics out there say that, you know, 10.5 people are involved in deals, and maybe you should have an equal amount of people involved on your side as far as making connections to the other side. But what should the customer journey look like today in B2B sales?
I tell you that's one that it's one of those things that depends. There's so many different scenarios, but one of the first things you need to understand is what's the lifetime value of your customer. That's how much people power you can put behind it right off the bat.
Mm-hmm.
Too many people will say, "Oh, we need this many people." That I mean, but you're making, you know, it takes you, you know, 2 years to get your payback. You know, it just it doesn't
Mm-hmm.
work. So the first thing is you got to figure out what's the lifetime value of a customer, and then usually there's different types of customers, A, B, C, D type customers and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So and that just and put a game plan together with your teams if you have marketing or don't have marketing to go out and go after them. And so that's really, I don't know, that's, and many companies just don't do a good job of, again, knowing who's doing what, you know. So if marketing and sales are
Mm-hmm.
going to work together, or marketing customer service, or customer service and sales. It's like, again, letting people know, okay, here's, and put them on. Sometimes they'll have electronic boards, or on your laptop or on a wall or something. Or I'm old school sometimes. Prospects, you know, I'll put old school, like maybe I have 5 prospects or something. I'll just stick them on the wall, and in my computer too,
Mm-hmm.
but just stick them on, just to keep them like the top of mind. But if you work, I'm a solopreneur, but if you have a team, then you got to say, okay, here's our 5 prospects. Who's going after him? Who's going to get him?
Mm-hmm.
But going back to the cold calling, the challenge is that a lot of companies don't have any other plans besides cold calling. You know what I mean? Don't how maybe marketing can send out, do advertisement to them on LinkedIn,
Mm-hmm.
right? And give them a message of your company, and then if somebody responds to it, then have the salesperson reach out. Anyway, there's a lot of, I just say that depend, you know, on your thing, the customer journey, it depends on how much they're worth, and then who on your
Mm-hmm.
team. Once you know that, who on your team, how much can you afford to put a team together to go get them? But unfortunately,
Well, I think that
yeah, unfortunately, most companies, that the whole responsibility is on sales.
Well, you kind of just segued into what I was going to say is that it shouldn't just be a sales led effort, and it shouldn't be marketing and customer service and everybody else working behind the scenes. I think that the most success that I've ever had in sales is when I'm going to a sales call, probably bringing a marketing person with me. I brought customer service people with me on customer calls too, because a lot of times they're handling customer complaints and things like that. And
Yep.
so they'd probably know them, if not better than I do.
Yep.
So if you have a team effort, it should look like kind of like you articulated earlier, as far as just the sports, you have an offensive line, you have receivers and a quarterback, everyone does their job, and you bring the full offense to the meeting, not just, one aspect of it. If you're going to have the great success that you should in B2B and large enterprise deals. Let's be clear. A lot of this, at least from my perspective, is we're talking about very large enterprise deals that have complexity, where you're dealing with multiple stakeholders. And I typically, we talk about multiple stakeholders involved on the other side of the fence, where we need to get more people involved on our side of the fence. Bring in the marketing people,
Yeah.
bring in your executive leaders, have everyone at least walk away with something that they heard that might be different from what your take was, and have a discussion about that. I mean, that's where I've had a lot of, I think, more effective sales meetings or, motions as far as just the customer journey. But would you agree with that approach?
No, I do, because like I said, some of my biggest successes where I bring in like an IT engineer, and um, and this is a big deal. And the two ones are the same thing, and that I'm kind of talking about the big picture, what their goals were, what the timelines are, what they're going to do, what we're going to do, and this and that. And the decision maker, the buyer, the one's going to sign it, looks over at their IT person and says, is this going to work? And then that person looks over at my IT person, is it going to work? Yeah, it is. Okay, done. Sign. It's done. But again, it's bringing in the expertise that, that gives you, and yeah. And so yes, I've done that lots of times, but you got to be careful too much bringing, again, it depends on the value of the customer. Bringing in, you have an engineer or something like that, and continually the salesperson bringing an engineer to close deals for them, that's okay if you do the math, and the investment of the engineer's time is worth it.
Gotcha. Yeah, like you said, it depends. I'm not saying bring the full team and the full force on every single call, but there's going to be a right time at least to have that sort of presence. I think that also gives the other, that your customer, your prospect, at least a feeling that they're dealing with more than just you. And when we talk about, having at least some sort of, relationship with a business, I mean, look at the other people across the room that you're going to be doing business with potentially in the future. That should give you also, a better warm and fuzzy as far as doing business with you. Because from a sales perspective, I think there's a lot of buyers that are out there that they might look at you and say, well, you're just in it to get a commission. But if you bring other people with you, then it's a team effort. And I don't know, I think that probably speaks volumes as far as just the approach, the partnership of how you can do business with us, other than just me trying to get a sale. And I think we talked about.
Here's something I'll tell you that made me just think about is I had something that's called 3x3. Okay. Because, and I didn't have that term, but my first book, I call it change a guard. So if you have a prospective customer and that buyer leaves the company, the bell rings, and that's a change of guard. That's another opportunity for you to go in and talk to the new person. Okay. And then the next scenario is one of your great customers, your main decision maker leaves. Now you have to talk to the new decision maker, and then when they come and explain why they're using you. So that's why 3x3 is always good. You need to make sure that there's, three either decision makers or heavy influences within that company, and you need three people in your company. So it makes stickier, because if one person leaves, then something can go wrong fast.
Yeah, it shouldn't all fall apart just because one person leaves.
Yeah.
So,
No, I mean,
like
it can.
that. Three by three.
I mean, if I found out someone with like a LinkedIn, my former life, I'd see somebody left the company and be going, they're the one that wouldn't give me the time of day. New person comes in, I come back, drop off new reference stuff, and a lot of times they'd talk to me, and it's just because it's a new person, they want something fresh, so it's an opportunity. But then that being said, the retention thing, if one of your main decision makers, you have a huge account, an enterprise account, and you only have one person in that account that really is the one that signs your, renews you every year. That is crazy. You need to make sure you have a whole bunch of people in that account. I say 3x3, but when I had a huge accounts, I would know I had one big account, and I was a medical account, and the people that did the work, there's like 3 or 4 of them. They all knew me. I knew their kid's name. I knew everything about them. The front desk lady knew me. Oh, one of the doctors I did jujitsu with, and he was one of the top doctors there. And dad, all these other, so all these for me, and everybody loved me. And then the decision maker, if I was lucky, I could say hi to her once a month. But everybody else is always chirping to her how great the company is and stuff. Again, that's because I had all these other people in the company cheering me and my company on versus just one person, and that person goes away and you can be really liable or exposed.
Yeah, that's the way to do it. 3x3. I like that. I wrote that down, posted up. We talked about a lot what's broken in B2B sales. What's not going to change in the next 5 years, 10 years? I mean, even with AI, what's going to be like the gold standard for sales going forward?
The one thing I talk about in both my books, and when I wrote my first book, one of my friends said, "Oh, that thing will be out of date within a year or two." And I said, "No, it won't," because I talked about it even before that in the martial arts. I talked about certain ways we do in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Stuff's been around for 1,000 years. And so I said, and then Jeff Bezos, the shareholders were asking him back in, I can't remember when it was, 2017 or something. Can't remember the date, but asking him, "Hey, in the next 5 years, what do you see? What's going to change and stuff?" And he says, "I don't know." He says, "You can't build a company on what's going to change. You have to build a company on what's not going to change." And he said that. Somebody posted that, and I sent them a video 7 years earlier of me talking about my book down at Boise State University. So here's what's not going to change. Okay, real quick, I'll give it an analogy. So Boise State's, I'm in Idaho. So Boise State, I went to Boise State, the blue field. That's the Broncos. So they're in the locker room, and they're down by 7, and the coach says, "Hey, they're killing us on the corners. We got to make some adjustments." Do all the players throw themselves on the ground and say, "Hey, coach, we played them in the first year, beat them. Why do we got to change?" No, that's just stupid. Their adjustments are part of the game and change, right? But what companies don't like change. I don't like change. There's all this change management, 70% fails. Right? But when the Boise State walks back out on the football field, there's 100 yards, 2 field goals, 4 downs, offense, defense. I mean, the ball even stays the same. Now, just imagine if every time they went on the field, it's 200 yards. The ball's twice as big. It'd be chaos. 80% of the game never changes. 20%, that's an outdoor stadium. So, hey, it's raining that day. It's 100 degrees. They get hurt. You get hurt. You can't control that 20%. But businesses need to have, and what I came up with, my model is this, again, back to the strategic customer cycle. The squared is a reminder that just marketing sales is helping it in the customer success. So the 7 stages, retaining, and I mentioned before, they're all verbs because you never stop doing them. Always retaining, always qualifying, always prospecting, always converting, always fulfilling, always supporting, always expanding. That's your football field. So now when people come, when you bring somebody in your company, you guys got to say, where this is the customer, how we're going to support the customer. So where are you on this? Not only are you, where are your team members on this? Now, where are your vendors? Maybe you have a chat tool that helps out. Where are they? So this is a good example where my friend is saying that, hey, your book's going to be outdated within 2 years, right? Here's a good example. This doesn't change because now with all the AI going crazy, I just talked to a founder of a local guy yesterday, and it was called conversational intelligence. It was freaking cool. He had me call one of his customers, and it was like telling me everything. I mean, it answered all my questions, everything I needed to know, and then asked me if I want to sign up. If it was a zoo, sign up to come down and look at their zoo. I'm like, this is cool. So then I said, no, I'm great. I just want to make sure the kangaroos are going to be out. Oh, thank you very much. And then it texted me afterwards and kind of said, oh, here's how you can sign. Anyway, so where is AI going to help you in each one of these stages too? So this is what's not going to change. And the companies need to do a better job of helping people because people don't like change, right? So they need to give them a framework of what's not going to change, and retaining, that's going to be around for another 100 years. and all the rest of them too,
Makes
supporting
sense.
and prospecting. It's always going to be around. So there's something that I've coached. That actually, I had a Fortune 50 company that hired me, and what did I teach? All their commercial people. Because the manager, I showed her that. She goes, we need that, because there wasn't, the salespeople were running all over the place. No, any, so we help them kind of narrow things down and say, where do you fit into this, and where don't you fit into this, or you shouldn't fit into this. So
Yeah, love that cycle. It's a good chart. I can see why you have it handy, because it's applicable to a lot of different conversations. Good tips, conversational intelligence. I jotted that down. I'll have to check it out. Let's move on to Burn It or Build It, where we give you some rapid fire hot takes for sales and marketing today. And so if you could just give us a burn it or build it as far as things that we should get rid of or things we should carry forward for the next, I don't know, few years. So we will start with the first one, commission only pay.
burn it.
Burn it. I think we talked a little bit as to why, and we'll move on to the next one, AI replacing cold calls.
That one is actually both, because if it's done poorly, it's not going to do it. But the guy I just saw yesterday talking, that's pretty cool stuff. It was really good. If you're on their website, if you're on their website and you want to have some information, that AI wasn't the body there, but the AI, whatever it is, could have taken a whole conversation with me and scheduled an appointment. So that's a both. Some of the crap that they have, there's lots of the stuff with the AI, but I'm telling you, AI is improving so fast. I don't count anything out in the future. So I build it too. Burn the bad stuff.
Burn it and build it.
Yeah, but build it, because there's stuff happening right now, and it's just going to get better.
Gotcha. Makes sense. We talked a little about CRM data. Anybody other than sales reps should be entering calls into CRM.
Yes.
So should marketing enter in sales calls? Should customer service enter in? Should
yes,
everybody
because,
else?
and here's the thing that I've had trouble with too is I have, if marketing has already touched them 3 times, right? Why wouldn't I want to have that conversation? Or if they opened up something up, hey, even though that's kind of old, hey, I saw you open this up, but still, yes. It should be, again, it's customer centric. You're a team, kind of a sports mentality. Everybody's working as a team. So if there's something that's hey, maybe they're on credit hold. Your credit department says, don't sell them anything. Well, that's a conversation when they call you the order and the salesperson doesn't have a clue. So yeah, you got to have everybody. Everybody should be, not tons of stuff, but relevant. It's really relevant stuff should all be in there.
Sure. Number 4, stretch goals.
Burn them down big time.
Okay. Why?
Because another martial arts analogy, Brazilian, and this is in, I don't know if I put it in my second book or not, but I put it in both books. But the analogy is about the belts is in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. When I first started a long time ago, there was Pedro Sauer came in here. He could barely speak English, and they had white, blue, purple, brown, and black. I told them, and then they had different red colors of black belts stuff. I told them, that's not going to work, because my martial arts background, we had zillions of belts and stripes and stuff. I said, you guys are going to have to add some stuff, because the key is, Americans especially, we like short-term goals. Short-term goals motivate you. And so that's where stretch goals, and then they have the smart, we need to get back to SMART goals, which are specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound. The attainable stretch goals, a lot of those, they do them so you don't get the commissions, and it doesn't motivate you to keep failing. So no, I think dump them off. You got to have goals. I get that, but try to give some people some that are realistic, that if they work, put some extra work in, you can meet them, and that motivates them.
Gotcha. Realistic. Stretch goals. Burn it. You heard it here first. Number 5, sellers are born, not trained.
Wow, I think that's another one that I think that's a both one. Because I think if you do it the right way and you make them industry experts, a lot of that, the old school stuff, I like to talk to people. I'm good at talking to people. I'm good at making a close. Man, that stuff's going to get further and further not as important as we go forward. And with AI and all this stuff, and we're going to be further and further to the end of the decision making. They do somebody. They don't want a salesperson. They want somebody that's super knowledgeable on how they can help them out. So, but that being said, So I think it's still a balance. I think it can be both.
A little bit of both.
Yeah.
We'll go neutral on that one. Number 7 or number 6, LinkedIn is more effective than cold calling.
LinkedIn's more, and what was that again?
LinkedIn's more effective than cold calling. It's better.
Oh,
If you're going to do cold calling, LinkedIn's the way to go.
think, I mean, you can cold call on LinkedIn. No, but I think LinkedIn is there's so many people on there that are business minded and stuff like that. It's just a much better environment to be able to give people stuff and yeah, and build relationships and get people that they're, I mean, put an event on LinkedIn and have people show up to it. And then, hey, it was great that you came to our, now they don't call them webinars, they call them live events, because webinars have a bad reputation, but they are. But say, hey, Sarah, would you want to have any information? I'm not nothing crazy. Yes, no. But that's so yeah, I'm a big fan of LinkedIn. I think LinkedIn's a great place. But again, it's like anything, you got to do it right. And then two is diversification. Is LinkedIn enough to float your boat? And for a lot of salespeople, it might not be. They might have to, I don't know, go to events or go to networking events or do something else too.
Yeah, you got to diversify a little bit of everything. But at least on LinkedIn, you're a verified person with an actual picture of you. They know where you work, as opposed to a cold call, which could be a random number. You don't know who's calling.
Yep,
So
yep.
you probably have more success with LinkedIn than cold calling, but at least to diversify your outreach channel, so to speak. Next one, marketing should own the pipeline.
I think pipeline's a team sport. I really do. I think they need to be held more accountable, because history, they've just kind of thrown stuff around. So if you get all the stuff we've talked about, if you're all on team, I think it should be a joint. I mean, even the founder, the owner might be able to bring some stuff in. I mean, everybody needs to be. There's main people doing it, marketing and sales, but everybody needs to be feeding the pipeline. It makes it a lot easier.
You're right. Team sport. So burn that one. Sales role playing. And I'm going to expand this a little bit, since we talked a lot about team and sales and marketing alignment. So I'll say sales role playing, burn it or build it. And then I'll give you a second one. Should other people do role playing, like marketing and other people within the organization, so they get a little bit of a flavor of what the objections might be and maybe honing their messages in? So we'll go with the first one, sales role playing, burn it or build it.
Build it. I mean, it's just like, I mean, Gong and all these type of, things that you record your calls and stuff, and there's all types of tools out there that kind of coach you up. And I mean, yeah, you got to think about, again, the sports mentality is that you got to role play. And then with now the cool thing is they have bots now that you can role play with the Chat GPT, and you can go back and forth. I mean, just the other day, someone showed me their sales bot. And so there's lots of things that you can do. So if you feel uncomfortable role playing with somebody else, you can have AI now role play with you. But the bottom line is, you just have to get better and more concise at what you say. And so, yeah, absolutely.
Gotcha.
And
Should
then
marketing do role playing too?
yeah, oh yeah, like you were kind of inferring. Yeah, of course, because the challenge is that a lot of times marketing is marketing at the top of the funnel, and because they don't talk to existing customers, that's why customer service and sales know they're the bottom of the funnel. They know them so much, and that's why salespeople. I make my own content at companies, because I look at marketing and go, I've never heard no one ever say anything about that. So I created my own. So yeah, absolutely. They should be on, in fact, this is my book. They should be on sales calls occasionally. Because again, you can't, how do they know? And then maybe you should be with them, marketing a little bit with them, and see what are they doing. If something's working, show you, hey, here's what we're doing that's working, some paid ads or some type of outreach or something like that. But yeah. I mean, yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And then, listen, and then they need to role play too.
Role playing, build it.
Yep.
Got it.
Yep.
And the last one here for burn and build it is, a lot of companies are having some sales issues. Let's get rid of the bottom 20% of the people that are underperforming.
That is
burn that strategy.
Burn it. That is the most terrible thing. I've heard that before at a bunch of these SaaS startups. What a horrible way. You recruit a bunch of young, usually college kids out of school, and they hire 50, and they know that once they get their next round of funding, they're going to cut the bottom 20%. I think that's horrible. So burn it.
Burn it. Got it.
You're not treating people like
Yeah, that's not a good way for business, and doesn't probably want to. It's not a good recruiting tool to know that if you get hired, you might be in the bottom 20 and you're just living in fear for when you
And
might be
then
next.
again, right, again, and then are you going to do the right thing? You're going to bring the wrong customers in. Yeah. So
Right. Yeah. Okay. Final thoughts. Let's leave sales and marketing teams, sales leaders with one thing that they can implement this week without some overarching strategies for their organizational success. So, what's one thing that we can leave them with that they can implement today?
okay, I'm going to give them more than one.
Okay.
My
Fire
first
away.
one is I'm all about referral partners, and so
Mm-hmm.
you ask you what you do is you get on whatever your favorite LLM is, Chat, Claude, Gemini, right? I use Chat usually, but so I get on there. I
Mm-hmm.
tell them I've coached companies like a home service company. Okay, you're the owner. You're a woman-owned business here in the Treasure Valley, Idaho. You ran this company for 20 years, and what would be some great referral partners and great cross-marketing partners, and why are each good partners, explain why, and make a duplicate list because 90% are going to be the same, I found out, right? And then take that prompt, dump the prompt back in again and say, please make this prompt better. It will make it even better than that. Now, the exercise, when you run it, you'll look at it, and the exercise is a lot of you are going to go, nah, those are already knew that. The exercise is if you can get one or two the aha moments, like holy crap, I've never thought about partnering up with them. Like here's one thing:
Mm-hmm.
is you have a window washing company, local, very successful one here in the valley, and I was speaking, and so I knew him and some people were going to show up, so I did that for them. And one of the ones he thought was cool is car washes, cross market with
Mm-hmm.
car washes and your windows, and
Mm-hmm.
so that, never thought of it before like that, and so I'm all about referral partners because referral partners are a cheat code. If you have good referral partners, they have the same customers as you, but don't compete against you. So, for example, on a
Yep.
B2C model, or we'll go B2B, B2B. So now you have a web development company, and they who wants to partner with them back and forth? FinTech, people that take ACH,
Mm-hmm.
account stuff and credit cards and stuff like that. Because if they don't do it themselves, then they want to part. So those are perfect partners because if somebody comes to the web developer and says, "Hey, now I want to start doing an e-commerce site and stuff." Oh, well, you're gonna have to set up some type of fintech type of situation and take some credit cards and
Mm-hmm.
ACH maybe. So now when they send that person, now usually they already respect the web development company. So when you refer them, okay, here's the deal. What it is, all this 90% of companies are out, 95% of companies are out of market. Your referral partners are sending you people in market because they told them they have a problem that you can fix. And now you have to continue building it, but also the trust level is already up because you've been sent by somebody else they trust. Anyway, so there's an
Mm-hmm.
exercise that everybody can do for referral partners and cross marketing partners. And I've just had so many people. Again, the exercise is you're only one or two. Now reach to them. It's not like a sales call. It's like, hey, I thought about it, and I think we should have coffee or we should have a Zoom meeting because I think we have the same customers and we could help each other out. So there's one. And
Okay.
then here's the marketing and sales people can do. I just found this out today because I was doing one extra step I didn't have to do. But my workflow, I do marketing people, salespeople, we do writing, and a lot of us use Chat GPT or whatever. So here's what I'm doing that I could have written my book much better. I can't spell or anything like that, so I'd have a million editors to go through it. So now I don't need that stuff. So this is a workflow that can help people in any type of people doing writing, especially posting emails or online or whatever you're doing. Is first of all, I use voice and I just say it on a Word document. I just say it out loud, blah, 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 blah. And it's read everywhere. I take that and dump it into my favorite LLM, Chat, Claude,
Mm-hmm.
and say, hey, please proofread this and make all changes in bold text because that's the tough part is seeing what it changed. So now you can look
Mm-hmm.
and go, I like that. I don't like that. The final step is to take it and now Gemini and Chat. I found it because I was going one extra step, but you can have it read it back to you. I
Mm-hmm.
can't tell you that I catch. I'm a quick lazy reader, but you will catch so much stuff when somebody reads it out loud to you. And Gemini and chat read it back to you. And you and go, okay, so that process I've used in voice, it's more natural to get my stuff out. I type it sometimes, but either way, dump it into your favorite LLM, say all changes in bold text, and then the last step is have it read back to you. That will streamline your processes and make you have said, oh, one last thing. So another thing I do when putting copy is Alex Hormozy. I like him. I got his book here on my desk. And he said that he always writes stuff at a third grade level because people need, if you're going to need to be able to understand it really, really quick. So I'll say on some of my posts, write it at a third grade level and use Alex Hormozy's best practices on copywriting. And there's something else you can do too. So there's some things that I think can help out anybody in marketing or sales.
I love that. Referral partners. I love the transcribing your words and having it speak back to you and then make it very simple for anybody to understand. There's a great tips. Anybody can implement that right now. And so those are great things that sales and marketing teams can use. So where can people find you, Scott?
LinkedIn. Yeah, LinkedIn's the best place to reach out to me. I have the same shirt, glasses, on my hat on, but LinkedIn. I'm big. I love LinkedIn.
Very cool. You can find me there too. This is a great discussion. Appreciate you joining Burn the Playbook.
Yeah, awesome. Hey, it's been an honor to be on the show.
All right. Thanks, Scott.
Thanks.
That's how you burn the playbook. If this conversation fired you up, don't let it end here. Subscribe wherever you get your podcast. Share this episode with someone who's tired of playing by the old rules. And if you're ready to challenge your own sales approach, let's connect. Find me on LinkedIn at Mark Crosby or head to digitalrebelsconsulting.com to see how we help B2B teams win differently. Until next week, keep burning what's not working and keep building what is.